Hello, good evening, and welcome everyone back to the Overwatch All-Stars Brawl number 3, where we're about to get started on the match between Old Man Strength and Soul, kicking it off on Lijiang Tower. It's 3.007, and I'm back with Sir Waltham.
Hello, glad to be back this time around Threep, and our final match of the first round in the main bracket. It's kind of a sad conclusion, but hopefully some good games come out of this sad conclusion.
This is always exciting because this means we get to see all these fantastic new teams coming into the Brawl and getting to see what exactly they have to strut in terms of their stuff. So speaking of those new teams, I'm going to introduce one of the coaches from a team that I've literally never seen before and can't wait to get introduced to. It's Old Man Strength, and we have Madero.
Yep, hello, I'm Madero, coach and co-owner of Old Man Strength.
Madero, it's a pleasure to have you in the booth, so to speak. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little something about Old Man Strength?
Well, we are a new team, a new gaming team. I formed Old Men Gaming LLC as a kind of offshoot of a family business that we have. It's actually a chainsaw selling business. You can go to chainsawdirect.com if you're interested in that. But more directly, the gaming business just started this year. And we're starting with Overwatch, going to see what we can do in the amateur scene and try to move up.
All right, well, that is definitely one of the most unique situations we've ever had here in the Brawl, that's for sure.
Yeah, we have a lot of people kind of, coming from different like esports organizations, something like that. But I definitely like this kind of background story to the org. It's new, it's fresh. We like seeing it, and I think it adds a dynamic. It definitely gives your squad personality.
So now the members of Old Man Gaming LLC, and this is the esports scene. You guys are just dipping in there, but are the members new to gaming, or are these people you've known, gathered from around?
Well, I met some of them recently, but I know they have all been involved in the gaming scene for a long time. One of our earlier players, Hazard, he's been playing pretty much his entire life. And he was involved in a lot of the scouting just to get our players on the roster. But I know pretty much everybody here has been gaming for many years.
Well, it's good to have that level of experience moving into a venture like this. I would like to turn my attention to you, the man himself. Now, you are the coach and co-owner. What aspect of coaching do you achieve for your team? Because some teams have different coaching levels.
Well, yes, I'm not so involved in the strategy. We have people more qualified for that, but I do kind of get involved in the overall the mental stability of the team, the direction. just having somebody a bit older to guide some of these young guys.
It's very good to hear. I think that's very necessary in esports, something that is only recently come into the forefront. So having that kind of moral and mental checkpoint, if you will, I think that's a very good thing to be able to offer to your team. Now, finally, I think we are just about waiting for the teams to kind of confirm their readied status. But Madero, before we head off here, would like to give you a big thank you for coming down into the caster booth, just chatting with us a little bit. Are there any final words before we let you go?
Well, thank you for talking to me. You can once again go to chainsawdirect.com or call us at 855-YOUR-SAW. We have a whole line of chainsaws. We have chainsaw experts with many years of experience in the field that you can talk to talk about your purchases. So thank you.
Fantastic, and I'm sure we will have links to that in the chat once our producer gets that all set up. But once again, thank you very much, Madero.
Thank you.
Now, Threep, it looks like we will be starting on Lijiang Tower. What are your first kind of suspicions as we get rolling onto this control point map?
Add Doomguy as a hero to Overwatch so that we can have a Chainsaw user in the game. I actually never really thought about that before. But couldn't you imagine like Chainsaw does like a unreduced damage to armor or something? I don't know, it just seems kind of fun. I'm sorry, I'm still hung up on the whole Chainsaw thing because that is just the neatest little thing. That actually sounds really cool. Go on, who's thought of that? Like you have a chainsaw company that's, you know what? Esports company. Like that's brilliant, and it's catching on super big. So I can kind of see the desire to get in there, and it looks like they've put together a pretty fun. Shouldn't say funny. Fun roster. I say fun me because I knew one of the guys, Carfixer, always been fun to see. But they're going up against Seoul, and that's another team that I recognize a couple names from, like Bakugo, and I think Fridge, and I think also Bepis. But otherwise, this is pretty fresh squads from both sides, and so getting on Lijiang Tower is definitely going to be a good way to at least see what these teams can bring out in terms of possibly some comp variety.
Right, and comp variety has kind of been the name of the game here today. We saw a lot in our earlier match between Dedicated and Nyx. A lot of what I would call non-meta comps coming out. I mean, Wrecking Ball was played, I think, on every map that we saw there. And, you know, different characters to come out to try to play around that. So I think if we see a little bit more of that, even if it goes, you know, outside of just, you know, a team playing one off-meta composition, it's going to be really interesting as this tournament goes forward, because that's kind of the precedent these teams are going to be setting moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see exactly quite the same quantity of Hammond play that we did. But I also want to note that it looks like Old Man Strength actually has Madero in on the front lines. I don't know if that's necessarily intentional. But as we move into Lijiang Tower, I also want to note that Seoul has the Hwa on their team. We're going to be referring to them as Bjornen, so stay tuned for that one. But, so yes, let's talk about that for a minute. So Lijiang Tower, if we get in on Control Center to start, it's a big potential for some Mei play. Now, back in, and I quote, the day, it also was the big sign for some Reinhardt, but definitely fallen out of fashion. But one thing we saw recently was some serious Brigitte, and it was kind of used to help deal with diving characters such as a Doomfist. What do you think the likelihood of that is?
It's something that I don't think is quite that well practiced just yet. The more you kind of see it come into the mainstream, I think the more effective it's going to be. But if it does get run, I would not expect it to be the most impactful. I might be putting my foot in my mouth 20 minutes ahead of time, but that being said, I feel pretty confident that maybe that's not something that's quite in the cards for us today. We'll be starting off a night market though, so who knows? Anything's possible on night market. It's a little bit more of a neutral map.
Absolutely, and yeah, we've even seen some Symmetra play come out here, using that teleporter to get onto the point much faster than the other team and set up some of those good, tasty, spicy sightlines. So it looks like Madero is actually in the game. Again, we've had the wool pulled over our eyes. Looks like not only are they a coach, but also a prodigious Moira player. So I think we can know what composition they're going to be rolling, except Dimes actually going to be coming out on the Pharah. So we, Sir Waltham and I, love to see that. And if you'd like to see some more Pharah play, don't forget to follow this channel as we bring constant, awesome Overwatch action to you.
Yeah, you can hear me and Threep's voice every so often if you give us the follow or some of our other fabulous casters. That being said, I want to talk about the compositions here. Dimes curiously not running a Mercy with that, unless Carfixer might be hopping onto the Mercy after the speed boost, which, you know, pretty common. There you go,
Yeah,
exactly.
there they
Carfixer
go.
going
And
to be hopping.
Bakugo is back on the Doomfist. We've seen this before. This is going to be some spooky action, but that Pharah, if they can get those kills, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, and already Dime's building up a lot of damage just because of how tightly packed the team of Soul is staying. And right now they're going to be taking early point presence, but we'll see if it carries.
Yeah, and there it is, Dimes, 69% already on their direct hits just, and there it is, Hazard finds the first kill, Bakugo goes down, losing the Doom Fist roll, but the duel is immediately revengeanced as Hazard goes down, and a very early barrage, and laser beams from Bjorn and Dimes, unbelievable, the point is almost clear, it's just Pig for Prez left, but there's a lot of people left, and uh-oh, Carfixer went for the res, and that patch isn't in yet, they go down, but it still looks like Old Man Strength might just be able to muscle this one out.
Yeah, really going to be putting those muscles to use here. And the best part of it is Madero's going to be having that Coalescence moving forward into this next fight. Coalescence, talked about often as one of the most crucial ults in this fight. It allows your team to get that confidence. It allows your enemies to kind of waver a little bit. And I think Madero having that and Bjornen not, really going to kind of make the difference here.
Yeah, so Madero is going to be able to ignore all those barriers here, drop that laser beam right into the bat line, and that's just going to couple up on Dimes' damage, who drops these rockets down like crazy, and Hazard finds the big fisticuffs, and they go down as well. Fridge, it's just a total snowball now for Old Man Strength, and I'm just going to say for the record that not only is that one of my new favorite team names, but man, are they demonstrating it.
Yeah, they're definitely putting age before beauty in this situation. These team fights are getting ugly for the other side of Soul right now, and it's looking good. We now see Valk going to be online, 4 ults online, in fact, for the side of Old Man Strength. And the switch coming out from that McCree, now going to cost a little bit for the side of Soul.
Yeah, and so far, Dimes is having a little trouble now building up to that barrage. Only 74%, and they're not seeing their... Oh no, there it is, Sigma! But the barriers are there and ready, and Bakugo actually has the follow-up onto Hazard, getting some revenge, and Beepus, there's that McCree to handle that Pharah, looking very good now for Soul. They're going to be entering onto the point just as soon as they finish up a little bit of cleanup.
Very true, and kind of the downfall was Veg and Hazard both using their ults. Veg lifts up with the grab flux, Hazard combos with the meteor strike, but as soon as Hazard lands, Baku goes there with the right clicks to get that early kill onto the Doomfist. Without that threat, you're able to take a lot more advantage, and right now it's just Stall coming out from the Hammond.
This is fantastic. Veg sacrifices whatever ult percentage they had. Yeah, jumping onto that Hammond, proving us wrong. We definitely saw some of that hamster come out here, and kind of to good effect. Getting to 90% is real close to one fight territory, but that's a ton of ults coming out from Soul now.
Yeah, and Veg isn't even going to suffer too much from losing ults. They just used that grab flux in the earlier fight with Hazard's Meteor Strike. So really, you're going to be feeling pretty comfortable with that. And it's just, I think, going to come down to how much value Dimes can get against Beppis and his McCree.
Yeah, speaking of the value, that's a big damage booster coming out, but the ults are swimming out from Soul just as anticipated. And whoa, the Sigma kills from the Flux rolling in. That's something you don't see in the kill feed too often, but man, the damage from Soul, very strong, and Bjornen even manages to hold on to their laser beams. It's going to go up against Madero, but if Dimes doesn't get good positioning, they're going to get beamed right out of the sky.
Yeah, they will have that Mercy most likely. With them still not a position they want to be put in, as taking any early damage, perhaps not the best. Although both laser beams going to activate at the exact same time.
That was unbelievable! Dimes takes a route that takes them almost completely over the top of the building in the central, and they drop down the barrage. There's nowhere for Soul to go. They've got 7 seconds left to get on the point. Ballistica definitely pulls out the hamster. It still might not be enough to get back on the point in time. Even a Reinhardt. Nope, there it is, Doomfist!
The Bakugo barely getting there just in the nick of time. Not going to be sticking around for the rest of the party, though.
Yeah, Mac flexing some of that Orisa glory. The Pulse Blaster at full strength. Tracer on Beepus' Tracer shows up onto the point just in time to do some harassing damage and get murdered. It's not looking good for Soul. There looks like they're going to be saying goodbye to this round of Lijiang Tower. Let's see if they can eke it out in the next one.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing some great staggered Bakugo getting enough time to come back to point after dying the first time around. But here's something to think about, Threep. If this was Dimes on Night Market, imagine how they might perform on Gardens. That is an intimidating thought if you're on the side of Soul, because we saw how much value and how quickly they were building those ults.
Speaking of spooky times, it is indeed the Gardens and Dimes is Farah. I'm going to be guessing they're going to be sticking with it. Beepus, another strong feeling. I'm hoping they stick on that McCree to bring that out right from the start. Bakugo, still on the Tracer. Not sure if that's what's going to leave spawn, but the Doomfist from Hazard kind of showed a pretty solid aptitude in dealing with the Zippy hero.
It certainly has the opportunity to, but I'm also very interested in Pig for Prez right now. Going to be running on our favorite space monkey, Winston here. Have not seen him in a while. Glad to see him back.
Yeah, this is an extremely divey composition coming out from Soul. It's to their benefit if they can go into that backline and get some kills before the Farah has a chance to rain down some justice from above. But it looks like that's possibly going to be the case. Dime's a little slow on their generation, he said, as the direct hits rained in. Veg getting low, and yeah, this is a dive that's a little target unfocused, except Mac does go down. It's a perfect trade, though, and now it's less of a trade. Bjornen goes down. Madero does get found, but with the res, it's going to re-even the fight in Old Man Strength's favor.
Yeah, Bep is trying their best to just mitigate that pharmacy out of the sky, but the angles taken by Dimes and Carfix right now just seem to be really strong. We're really utilizing the geometry of this map, exactly what we were worried about if you're on the side of Soul.
So this is interesting. What we've been seeing is that it does look like Dimes is not able to get the rockets that they were earlier. As we've noted, the point has been taken already, but Dimes has yet to build up to that barrage that only was slightly beaten out by a Moira's ultimate as well. So clearly Soul are adapting. I'm just curious if they can punch it through.
It's certainly going to have to be a little bit of the test here, Tariq. We do see these tanks. The Hammond can put up a little bit of a fight, but you don't want your Tracer to go down. You don't have to worry about your supports if the Tracer's down.
Yeah, very solid source of damage going from Tracer being bereaved from the map. Beepus goes down immediately after Bjornen and the Fridge Freezer healer also following. Prez not able to stick it out long enough to get some of those kills, and now with the Tesla cannon getting the cleave that it would, diving a tank, maybe not your best option, but we have Ballistica in the backline to try and get some damage done.
Yeah, thing to note though, Pig for Prez having that Primal Rage up may not be as effective as you think, because they still have to deal with the Doomfist. You might not get dropped from a right click from the Doomfist, but you're still going to get moved around, you're going to get pushed and knocked in any way you like, so you still have to be very careful, and Fridge getting taken out rather early.
Wow, and Hazard decides that it's time for a pop-off moment. That's a 3K. Bakugo gets him with the sticky bomb though, but Dimes is there with the follow-up. And they even have more ults in the bank. This is a little rough.
Yeah, and man, to have to use that high noon just to get out of spawn, not get anything for it. Hazard, has a very good chance to is already back on point by the time that happens. They're committing full hit scan to this. Bakugo going to be hopping onto that Widow just to try to deal with the Sky threat.
Now it's interesting, getting a click onto Hazard is also a solid option for the Widowmaker, but there it is! Bakugo finds Dimes, and Soul is back in the game. It's down to the wire for them. They need to take this point, and they're definitely going to pull it off, but now they're going to have to hold it. The stalls once again come out from Old Man Strength just to make sure that the point is at 99, but no, they will not get a 99-0 as Soul has entered the game, but Fridge is the only ult they have to throw on, and Dimes off the Farah.
Yeah, a couple change-ups coming through from the side of OMS, Old Man Strength, if you will. We're going to be seeing the Lucio come out instead of the Mercy, and the May coming out instead of the Farah. None of it matters if you Doomfist gets shot in the head, though.
Oh, that was filthy. And so there's no Mercy to res that kill, and that's going to be the end of that push. Doomfist being utterly important for this team to get some damage in, as May very good at dealing it, but needs to get just a little bit closer to get that ice beam working. So the barriers are in, and Old Man Strength is going to be taking the back door to the point. Bakugo finds the head to click, but it doesn't result in the kill, and now it's a brawly composition from Old Man Strength on the point.
Yeah, and I'm really liking the usage of Ice Walls coming out of Dimes, really restricting those Widow sightlines. Ballistica getting taken down early might prove to be the punch that was needed, and with Bakugo gone, it's not looking great for Soul.
One does not necessarily need another sniper to contest a sniper if you have a Mei that can do the CC for you. And so the stalls now have to come out from Soul, as if Old Man Strength caps this point, and again, just still some stalls, but this is not looking good for the party of Soul who need a kill.
Right, and it looks like the kill's not going to be too forthcoming for them. The Mei wall coming up, zoning off of the McCree, who can't even move that fast because of his locked in animation high noon. Right now, it is just looking like the stagger coming through from the side of Soul. Mine's gonna come out, might not be enough though.
Yeah, mines are here and to stay, but Ballistica is not. He goes down, the objective is secured. Old Man Strength making a very dominant showing in their first game here in Overwatch Brawl number 3.
Yeah, and you know, I think that this was kind of unexpected in the fact that we talked about it before. We don't have much of a concept of these teams, but man, Dime's playing so well on that Pharah. It looked really good if I'm being honest. The tank play I think from Soul really showed some shine as well. Just were not quite able to deal with the threats that they needed to deal with in the immediate moments.
Yeah, we got to play the game from Beepus, actually, who in conjunction with the Sigma pulled off a really nice ultimate combo there. However, ultimately not proving enough to take either of those rounds of Lijiang Tower. And yeah, I agree. It seemed like there was some really strong adaptability coming out from Soul. Like, they just weren't able to punch it through. Maybe it's the overcommitting of the ults. It's difficult to say. I have a feeling we're going to see the results of that match come up in the second, as if Soul does not continue to adapt, they at the very least will have their pick of the map.
Yeah, they will get that. And while we're doing kind of a pounds for pounds comparison here, I would like to talk about Bjornen going kind of toe-to-toe with the coalescences coming out of Old Man Strength, because a lot of times we saw, you know, the side of Soul get those coalescences first, but they wouldn't necessarily be fight winning or fight changing. I think it was the first fight in Night Market we actually saw Bjornen get that coalescence up online and used it, but I think it was either as somebody was dropping or after somebody had dropped. So yes, it could have turned the fight. It just did not seem like Soul was gathered enough to really push, really make it count when they needed it to. As well, some solid positioning from Old Man Strength to kind of avoid those sightlines without putting themselves at risk.
Yeah, the timing was unfortunately rough, as Dimes had literally gotten barrage at the exact instant that a Coalescence was dropped by Bjornen. So yeah, the Coalescence came out, and it just does not have the ability to keep someone alive if they are getting literal justice rained down upon them. So Dimes took that away from them pretty quickly, and then from then on there, Madero was the one who had the Coalescence when Bjornen was still recovering, and that kind of takes away from the fight's momentum if you're Soul for the rest of the round, and you either have to regroup and have a bunch of neutral engagements where your ult charge is built a lot, or you stay at that deficit forever, and that's kind of what happened there.
Yeah, and I think one thing we're going to kind of see, or at least one thing I'm going to reference to myself in this coming tournament as we look at Old Man Strength is, you know, the strength's not necessarily in reaction time when it comes to, you know, seniority. It's sometimes in the mentality, the wisdom you can kind of get with age. And I think that, as we heard Madero talking about a little bit, that might play a big factor. That emotional and mental stability, you know, might be pretty strong. I mean, I don't know necessarily the makeup of Soul's team, but that might not be something they're as prepared for.
Yeah, age and cunning over youth and vigor every day for me. In any event, though, that is going to be part of this little brawl that we have going here, because it's going to be the map ban. So Old Man Strength bans Gibraltar immediately. Soul end up going with Volskaya, and that is very spooky to me. I would be a little frazzled if a team willingly picked an assault map, let alone Volskaya.
That is either a specialist pick, something they have been planning for, or they are just ready to see what these teams are made out of. So I think Soul kind of playing their cards, you know, pretty on the table there.
They're definitely taking their fate into their own hands, that for sure. You could say that pick had a lot of soul to it. Anyways, if you'd like to hear more crappy puns like that, don't forget to throw us the follow and possibly subscribe. And the Twitch MVP vote, it's right below the stream. You can pick your favorite player, but maybe save it for the end, because we've got a lot more Overwatch for you to see.
Yeah, control points are... It's not hard to pick out who's doing really well. The kill feed's always going to be there, but it's not a very objective focused game mode as well. You see these assault maps, the escort, the hybrids, they all kind of incline themselves to achieving a task a little bit more than just rallying on the point. So, you know, some team play might come into a little bit more team play might come into effect here, giving us some more very viable candidates for MVP.
Yeah, and one of those candidates I would be happy to point out would have been the player who plays Sombra on Volskaya, except that's not the really tactic that you see a lot these days. In fact, we see so little of Volskaya that I'm hesitant to claim any one particular composition. Now, we've clearly already seen that Old Man Strength has popped out with Hazard on the McCree. replacing the Reapers, so that's going to be interesting. I wonder if they suspect some kind of diviness that they're going to need that flashbang to counter.
Certainly will be it remains to be seen as we get going here. We are going to be seeing the pharmacy come out. Bakugo this time going to be the one hopping out on it though.
Wow, maybe this is some advanced scouting. Bakugo is out on the Pharah, and there's Hazard on the McCree ready to do some damage.
Right, and right now it's just a little bit of poke trying to build up that ult charge, but Bakugo not finding much. Hazard actually farming a little bit more, but going to be feeding their life to them in the end.
Yeah, direct hits are direct hits, but Fridge goes down. That's the Mercy portion of the Pharmacy dead. Ballistica grabs Dimes, but otherwise the kill feeds lighten up with Old Man Strength on the left. And it is just bad for Old Man Strength to lose anyone, though, at this point. That is a long walk back from spawn.
It certainly will be, and now we're seeing the switch off of the McCree onto the Tracer. Not the worst call, considering McCree running back to this point might be very difficult considering the amount of choke strength that the attacking team now has.
I love Hazard going immediately into the backline and picking a fight with Bjornen and then immediately having to warp out. Because, man, Moira is just awful, and I hate that matchup. Meanwhile, though, Bakugo's still not able to generate that... Nope, there it is. There's the direct hits you need, and that's going to be a barrage coming out very soon. But Madero has the beam, and that's going to keep that Pharmacy pair in rough homes. But Bjornen has the counter this time, not too far behind at all, and now kills for Soul looking very strong.
Oh no! Bakugo getting a little too low with that rocket barrage. Gonna be netting not really any kills, just some follow up to be had, but it's, again, we're seeing the tank play come through from Soul. Ballistica getting some severe damage with those orbs, still gonna be having that grab flux moving forward, and I mean, there's some snowball potential here, especially if they can just get Bakugo right into the face of the point and just have him plug and chug with those Reaper Hellfire shotguns.
Yeah, they're going to build their ult very quickly if they get to start this fight on the point with some ultimates to back them up, and Ballistica having that flux ready to go is huge, as is Prez having the damage charger, and Peep is so close. They're going to have that strike ready to go for this fight if they can survive long enough, and it looks like despite getting very low that they will.
Yeah, Bjornen already on their way to trying to build up another coalescence. Not really gonna matter though, as half the ults, or half the team use their ults on the side of Old Man Strength. Perhaps a little too much vigor. Carfixer and Madero both layering those support ults. You may not have needed that, but they'll be wanting that back in the next coming fights, especially with a Meteor Strike. Carfixer may have wanted to hold that in the pocket.
Yeah, something. I'm loving how powerful Supercharger is these days. I remember I used to think that I didn't really like it as an ultimate, seemed to have no impact. With coordinated teams like this, though, the strength is so obvious, so strong. Speaking of which, Prez is going to have it for the next fight.
Certainly will. This time it will be Dimes initiating with the Meteor Strike. The Halt coming in, trying to combo. Not quite there, though.
Yeah, again, the ability of a Doomfist to get out is so strong. Unlike Beepus, who after getting a kill, though, was not able to get out of there alive as Hazard is able to find them. Now the spawn advantage is squarely in the side of the defense, so as Dimes and Hazard both having gone down, they're going to be back in the fight. But whoa, Soul gets so many kills so quickly! That's what you need for Assault!
It really is. Carfix are going to be getting back into the fight, but Hazard getting the reclaim with a big Death Blossom.
Ballistica actually goes down despite a sheer metric butt ton of shields gained from that Death Blossom. Bakugo is going to pick up the kill, but they're actually going to have to retreat. They are going to retreat with a Death Blossom, however. No progress gained on the point, but ult's looking a little thin for Old Man Strength. This could be big for Soul to come busting in now.
It certainly is going to be a great opportunity for the attacking team, considering they've been pretty conservative this time around about their ults. They've not been wasting them as much as it seems like Old Man Strength has been kind of throwing them away. They're going to be having that coalescence up, but it might not be enough.
Wow, there it is. Death Blossom goes up in the sky! Oh no! Instead of getting many kills, it gets one kill, and that's Hazard, who does go down. And that's going to impede their ability to bring in the Death Blossom, which is big because the barriers and the big booms are in. And now it's time for Soul to take position on the point. They might have a chance to get that third here, and this might be the start of their cap.
It certainly looks like it's going to be 4 members and counting on the side of Soul on point. They are racking up the kills. And something needs to happen major if they even want to have a contest chance for Old Man Strength. Not going to be the option.
Yeah, that was perfect timing for that team kill to come through when they had already capped maybe 40% of the point. Literally, as we've just seen, impossible to come back from that one. And so, it's 2-0 going into the second offensive on Volskaya. The first, however, for Old Man Strength. Clearly, Soul not picking Volskaya all willy-nilly.
Yeah, they certainly look like they came in here with a plan. Old Man Strength might have to turn it around just a little bit. There is a pretty sizable time bank still left for the side of Soul. And, you know, you talk assault maps, you talk time banks, it's only better as it gets higher.
Yeah, that was honestly very nuts. And so we are going to see, with 2 minutes and 28 seconds left on the clock, Seoul go into their defense, which, as we saw from Old Man's Strength, was pretty decent. They had a longer hold than one might normally expect on first point, and getting taken on point 2 is rough in the face of such an overwhelming team kill at the time that it happened. Now, however, let's see what Seoul comes out with, and it actually looks like it's startlingly similar, but Fridge on the Brigida. How fascinating.
Yeah, not sure how the Brigida is going to play here. That shield, not great for a whole lot of self-defense. It's just 200 HP, as that patch has been out for quite a while now. No Pharah this time around. Bakugo going to be sticking with the Doomfist. And Beppis, this looks like a very strong CC comp, as opposed to the kind of in-your-face damage output comp you might see from a Reaper Doomfist.
Yeah, Beep still sticking in on the McCree is going to be interesting to see. There's something to be said for flashing a Doomfist sometimes, or rather, not sometimes, if the focus fire is enough, you can definitely get them taken care of without them being able to get away, but it is difficult and requires that coordination.
And we're going to be seeing the Shield Ward take place here in just a quick second, but an early damage orb from Bjorn going to be getting a little early Coalescence Charge.
Yeah, Madero right with them, however, and wow, Old Man Strength takes the fight right to the point. No dilly-dallying, Beepus goes down so quickly you'd forget that they actually picked the hero if it didn't show up in the feed. Fridge follows shortly after, no surprise there. It's a total snowball now for Old Man Strength, except they're not going to have a lot of time to generate some ult charge because this fight's going so quickly.
Yeah, they're really going to have to work on some shock and awe. They might want to draw it out just a little bit, try to get some damage onto Ballistica, build up a little bit of that ult charge, but they're going to go into this basically dry. Fridge and Beppis are going to be looking to swap off their heroes, going to be going on to the Lucio and Reaper in kind. So it's tough. You don't have a lot. You have even less ults on the side of Soul, and a startling time bank for Old Man Strength.
Yeah, that was really dirty. If they can keep the kills going up like they did, this is going to be a no-brainer victory. Madero starts with the Coalescence, and Bakugo goes down. Veg ripping them apart. The presence on the point has been confirmed, but now it's Bjorn's turn to fire and lasers. But Beepus goes down despite the Healy beam that should have been on them as they go in for murders. The beam is over, and now it's just up to the fist, tooth, and claw, and also the bullets. And Pig for Prez going down means a Death Blossom in the backline guts down Bjorn as well. Even the Meteor Strike comes out. Old Man Strike mean business, and it's all there. It is. Beepus now only one left to be cleaned up on the point.
Yeah, Old Man Strength going to be feeling very comfortable using as many ults as they did, considering they want to take this in one push. It looks like they're going to get pretty close. The Winston coming out, actually. Wow. Surprising. Usually when you think Stagger, you don't think Winston.
And Winston going in alone is definitely not the recipe for victory there. So Ballistica had their own ult to throw out there, but the battle, the supercharger and the barriers are in as well. It's 5 minutes left on the clock for Old Man Strength. They finish it with so much time to spare. I loved Soul's push. Old Man Strength leaves absolutely nothing to be desired, and so Soul on the offense yet again, they're going to have to rethink their strategy if they're going to top this new time bank.
Yeah, Old Man Strength actually finishing with 1 second under double the time bank. So that's a statement. You got to think that the side of Soul's going to be a little bit staggered here. This was their pick. They had to feel comfortable going into it. They had to feel comfortable after getting that 2-point cap. But then to see Old Man Strength turn around and take it back with just under 5 minutes left in the time bank, they might not be as confident and cocksure this time around.
Yeah, that's a very dangerous situation to be in. But as Madero had said coming into this fight, managing the mental acuity and presence of your team is paramount, tantamount to victory. So you gotta keep that PMA up. You gotta have your attitude in check. It's important to remember that it's still tied, and Seoul have a very good chance at pushing this through. So Bakugo, they're back on the Pharah. I still dislike the Brigida pick, but maybe they can make it worth this. Oh my goodness, what is going on with this offense?
And this is
they got me good.
This might be a little bit of a debate. I haven't seen Diva in even longer than I've seen Winston yet. Yeah, it looks like Ballistica going to be switching back onto the Sigma. We do not get fooled this time, Threep. We walked away without getting fooled.
We did it. Well, honestly, I almost got tagged pretty hard. But in any event, let's see this relatively standard composition coming out. It's Fridge and Bakugo back on the Pharmacy, and it wasn't as fast as it could have been, but maybe they'll have those direct hits in time to get that nice early barrage.
Right, and this positioning from the side of Old Man Strength really seemed to have caught Soul off guard for just a moment. Not really going to matter, though, as trade's looking even.
Yeah, Prez goes down, Carfixer follows in. Now it's Dimes, however, looking a lot better as Soul pushes in, but Ballistica falling isn't going to be good. Holy moly, kills really stacking up now for the side of Old Man Strength, though every kill the offense gets is very difficult to replenish here.
It certainly will be, and shout out to Veg, hits a Mercy mid-flight with one of those accretion rocks. The cleanup follows. It was one of those little small Sigma maneuvers that you like to see. You like seeing those skill shots, even from tanks. Yes, tanks can have skill shots.
Yes, tanks can have skill shots. Speaking of which, that's Hazard going into the backline trying to have some fun damage going on. I hope they save some cooldowns to get out of there because it's going to be a little spooky. The Boop tries to come in to keep them out, but instead they do retreat to safety. And now Soul's in a little bit of a bind. Bakugo still has yet to get that big barrage going. And with kills coming out now for the side of Old Man Strength, it's going to be difficult to justify committing that to the fight. Though an early Death Blossom from Hazard leaves me wondering if that was entirely necessary.
I think Hazard used the Death Blossom so he wouldn't get taken out by Bjornen, because there was a definite threat in there. Bjornen was lined up with Pig for Prez. Definitely did not want to take that loss early on. And as we talked about, the walk back is brutal. I might invest just to not have to walk back on Volskaya.
100% fair, and honestly, with Bakugo being the only barrage ult left on the side of Soul, you might be pretty safe. Be pissed, you can't go down that early in the fight. Not good for Soul. This push is effectively done.
Yeah, but Bakugo gonna be taking themselves down because of the shield coming through from Veg. Dime's really gonna have to work to get back to point, though, as they did take a face full of rockets going in for those punches.
And Ballistica goes down as well. If there's one thing to be said, it's the ability of your team to carry while you yourself are gone. The Rocket's still coming in, but it's just one kill after the other for Old Man Strength. I think it's going to be difficult to see if Soul even manages to get close to the point. It's Fridge with Valkyrie making it happen.
You're gonna have to using that Valkyrie just to get back to point, leaving Bakugo in kind of a weird middle ground. Gets hit by the accretion rock. Oh my goodness, that was an amazing shot. Another skill shot.
Yeah, that's super rough. Carfixer going down could have been the kill to start this tide of Soul, but instead, it's all blue in the kill feed. That's Old Man Strength with the full hold, and that means it is now impossible for Soul to win this map. They must full hold just to eke out the tie.
Certainly, and let's not forget, it's a full hold for 5 minutes. That is steep, as a very steep asking price there, Threep. I think that Old Man Strength definitely has a lot of things working for them, and to be frank, if they cannot make this happen in 5 minutes, it's going to say a lot more about them than the same can be said for the side of Soul. Soul not taking it in 2.5 minutes, fine, that's a run of bad luck. But Old Man Strength not taking it in 5, that's a different pig altogether.
Yeah, surely no one is that unlucky, but what you can be safe in saying is that we have seen big sixes fail before. Now, Old Man Strength, I believe that they'll have the coordination necessary to make whatever win condition they establish for themselves happen. Based on what we're seeing so far, I can almost guarantee it's not going to involve the Zarya. If it does, I will eat something in my room. Anyways, though, Beavis is coming out on the McCree once again. As quickly as they went down in that previous matchup, though, that's going to be interesting. They have to make sure that they can stay alive. I think the absence of the Brigida is going to make that a little easier with Fridge and Bjornen on the heels.
Certainly, but this time it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing a Pharah come out. So that McCree might be a little bit more difficult to use. Looks like Hazard might try to take a sneaky back route, but the Doomfist is going to catch him out immediately.
Wow, you love seeing that. Someone goes for the sneaky cheese, and instead it gets spoiled on you. So Bakugo finishes that right lickety-split, and that's actually going to stall Old Man Strength for quite a bit of time.
Right, and Bakugo gets a decent amount of ult charge for that. That's something you need in this type of game, in this type of situation. Old Man Strength really needs to try to make their ults build up as fast as possible, and Soul has to kind of levy theirs out using them to win fights as effectively as possible.
Bakugo goes for the early kill onto anyone, but they hadn't left the room quickly enough. So now, having taken this long route, Old Man Strength is going to split a little, but now they're back together on the ground. Dime's up top doing some damage. Bakugo goes into the backline. He doesn't get nothing, and he gets out right away. But now it's time for Hazard and Dimes to start working their magic. Fridge goes down right away, gets put on ice. And with the death of Prez and Madero, of course, having the laser beams, it is not looking good for the side of Seoul.
It is going to be looking very rough with only 1 kill going in their favor. It looks like that's going to be it. The timer will tick down, or rather the point progress will tick up. Old Man Strength going to be taking this one. They're setting in a cozy 2-0 now, 3.
Yeah, wham bam, thank you ma'am. That's match point for Old Man Strength. Looks like the situation has been very less than favorable for Seoul, and I think I don't know what you do if you're Seoul. You had your pick for Volskaya and you got eked out, but Volskaya also tends to put you in unwinnable situations like a 5-minute hold for 1/3 of a point. I think this might be the opportunity to grab some kind of escort goodness, or maybe even go back to control point. Put yourself in a situation where you have to win the map, and then you might get that motivation, that inner strength that it's win or go down to the loser's bracket kind of mentality.
Certainly. The difficulty is with our lineup for the maps that we have available. I don't know what you'd necessarily want to lock in with, because I mean, we just saw Lijiang Tower. We didn't see the interior map in Lijiang, so now we have to debate if we do go to another control. Do we see Nepal? If so, that's not great for Seoul, because Old Man Strength shows that they can run a pretty decent Pharah. Do you see Busan? Because that's also a very tricky spot to be in. That's also one that you just don't see. You might not have experience in.
It really gives you a 1 out of 3 chance to play the Pharah, and if you're really ballsy, you play it on the drum map. But I don't know. There's just too many angles to not have to play with. And wow, Old Man Strength actually banned Eichenwald. Now, I'm surprised they didn't go with Dorado, given that they grabbed Gibraltar, Gibby, as they put it, quite early on. So it'll be interesting to see what Seoul picks as a result now that Eichenwald and Watchpoint Gibraltar are no longer available. While we wait, don't forget to vote for your MVP below the stream, and drop us the follow if you're liking what you're seeing, because we got matches going constantly, and I don't know what Seoul even have to pick here.
I mean, literally speaking, they have, well, with the exception of the assault maps, which we're not going to see because we just saw Volskaya. There are a couple control points, 2. We still have Dorado, Kings Row, and Hollywood. I wouldn't be surprised to see Hollywood. I would normally say something like Kings Row, but I think Hollywood's been a little bit of a stronger flavor lately. I think ultimately it's not even safe to predict with Seoul, because I would never have guessed Volskaya to be their first pick out of the gate at all, ever.
Yeah, it is fascinating that they went with an assault map, and Volskaya of all places. Now, if there's any place that I've seen be willingly picked with assault and the team then immediately made good use of it, it was Temple of Anubis. Holy moly, have I seen some crazy come from behind plays on that map. I rarely see it on Volskaya. Just rarely.
Yeah, it's Volskaya was rapid, if I'm being sincere here, 3, but it looks like we're not going to even have to worry about going to escort or hybrid. We're going to be taking it back to control with Nepal.
Yeah, so that's funny. We actually saw Nepal played earlier today. The winning team went with a Mei combo with their Hammond. That was real. No, that's right. It was the Hammond and the oh no, my brain. It was only like an hour ago.
We did remember. We saw a whole bunch of stuff. It was wild.
It was a cluster for sure.
I'm not surprised we got blackout syndrome right now. It's not surprising.
I don't think we'll be seeing the Hammond, but I can definitely think we're going to be seeing the Mei, especially since we've already seen Dimes be willing to switch to it on Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, certainly not out of the question. Dimes, I think, able to use those walls to some real good, and this is perhaps one of the more Mei-friendly control point maps, because you do have a lot of areas that seem perfectly sized for Mei walls on these maps, more so perhaps than some other maps. So I think that's a pretty good possibility moving forward.
I can definitely agree. Speaking of which, by the way, I want to give a massive shout out to Callisti Overwatch, who has subscribed for 4 months in a row, 5 months total. They are on a roll, and we are absolutely so proud and happy to have you with us. We love your support. We love having you here, and we hope that we can continue to drop sick Overwatch beats for y'all. Meanwhile, though, I'm only seeing a single Mei, but I am seeing Ballistica on a Hammett, and now I'm so happy.
Yeah, you said on a roll, and Ballistica was like, that's my cue, and immediately hopping onto the Wrecking Ball. Not going to be sticking with it, though. We are going to be seeing the Rein Zarya. I'm very fascinated for this. Ballistica and Pig for Prez. Hopefully going to be doing some good work against a very difficult Doomfist Reaper combo.
If I hadn't watched it leave spawn, I would say that Waltham was this time debating me. So yeah, they go, rather than is to say Dimes go right into the backline to try and separate out this team, and it works perfectly. Reaper gets completely segmented, burned down so fast I barely had time to call out the fact that Bakugo was the first one to fall. Ballistica Zarya gets predictably obliterated. Hazard does get taken out by Fridge, but it's more of a token victory, as with Beepus falling, that's almost a perfect team kill as the point goes to Old Man Strength.
Yeah, and the key there for Old Man Strength was really getting that cordon off, making sure that the Reinhardt wasn't able to play comfortably with the rest of their team. If the team can't get settled on the point, they can't take full advantage of those Mei walls. They can't take full advantage of the Mei walls. The Mei suddenly looks a lot less effective. And for what it's worth, it looks like Soul's going to be sticking with this Reaper Zarya composition.
Yeah, I'm shocked that they're still going with it. There's a reason that you can't play Reinhardt in the face of a Doomfist, and it's because he's just so angry, and he just rips through that shield like it literally doesn't exist. And doesn't exist, it truly does. So that's even more kills. It's almost time for ults to be on the board for both teams, except the one combo you absolutely need to have happening, the Shatter Grav, is just, it's not happening.
Yeah, Pig able to get a little bit of charge from those big swings, but it's not going to be sticking around for long. As, man, this, it's looking clinical from Old Man Strength.
Yeah, it's the running roughshod over it, and rightly so. Ballistica has yet to even get to 3/4 of their ultimate. Bakugo picking up Hazard, however, is very good, though as far up as they were playing, that gives Old Man Strength plenty of time to rotate back to the point, and plenty of time for Hazard to teleport and ghost his way up.
Yeah, it looks like Carfixer's not even going to leave to really kind of get the Reaper back in position. A lot of ults being committed, including the Moira Coalescence, both grab fluxes. Quite a bit going on in this fight.
Here we go. Now I'm loving it, except the Shatter gets absolutely nothing, but it does eke out the cooldowns potentially necessary to get the rest of this team off the point, except Pigs for Prez is already down. Mac preceded them, however, and yes, kills still possible for Soul, and it's very likely that they might take it out here, and there's finally that grab. That catches Dimes. He goes down so quickly. The Maywall tries to keep Hazard out, but they are going to enter onto the point. They'll stall it out to 19. It flips, but at what cost?
It was an expensive cost, but it was a cost they had to pay for. We see now that Soul, if they had lost that fight, it would have been over for them. They are going to have to be very careful about their ults once again. Veg really the only thing to get rid of Beepus's Blizzard moving forward. So they might try to play around that, wait for that Sigma shift ability to come off of cooldown. Bakugo also going to have to be very careful with this Meteor Strike. He does not want to get picked off, as we've seen happen before.
And there it is, the Maywall finally being used to good effect, except it's actually Hazard picking up a 2K. Madero follows up with the beams before Beepus can get it off! No, the ult was gone! Paused and killed right out of the stun animation. That's almost a team kill for Old Man Strength. The point gets flipped. It's back to super stall mode for Soul. And they are going to be able to get back, but it's going to be pure cleanup now for Old Man Strength, who are simply going to wait for Bakugo to come down onto the point.
Right, we see Fridge waiting kind of in the rafters like Batman, just waiting to get there at last minute, and we're actually seeing a pretty good regroup come through from the side of Soul, but the Earth Shatter not going to be as effective.
Yeah, it goes right into a big old shield. It grabs nothing. The kills continue to flow freely, like milk and honey from the promised land, as Old Man Strength flexes without the back problems that Reinhardt has. It's one on the board. It's match point now for Old Man Strength, and Soul, you gotta come out with something other than a relic of the past.
Yeah, you got to come out with something other than just coming out swinging, because it's not proven like it's enough. You can have all the tenacity in the world, not really going to matter if you're just getting outplayed a little bit. And right now, it just looked like they stumbled, and it looked like Soul just stumbled and kept falling down the stairs. They were not able to get themselves recollected. Once they lost that Reinhardt, once that Reinhardt was separated, it really set the tone. Old Man Strength just kept capitalizing, kept building up ult charge and using it when necessary. And it really kind of put Seoul in a bad position to be on their toes the entire fight.
Yep. And that is exemplified by Seoul dipping back onto the standard composition, as I've taken to calling it, since I can't think of a good name that I'm allowed to say on the air for this composition that doesn't involve some dirty joke. Instead, though, it is going to be massive damage heading out from both sides as the Moira orbs do their job and Ballistica's the one to capitalize. Bakugo follows it up. That's exactly the kill Seoul needs to take this point very early on. Look who's back.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Seoul gets in a little bit more of a fair fight, and they start turning things around. You like to see it. They don't have to worry about their mental state being too roughed up just yet. That Reaper coming into chase, though, from Hazard might be a little bit dangerous, a little too aggressive maybe from Seoul, but they're able to pull back safely enough.
And so that's absolutely fantastic. Really good positioning from Seoul, and look at that! Ballista finds Madero so early into the fight. The damage coordination coming out from this team is literally completely different from what we've been seeing.
It really is. The points only going to be ticking up in their favor. Hazard trying to get away, going to be stalled out for their efforts. And right now, I think we're seeing the side of Old Man Strength having to take a knee and figure things out, figure out what they want to do to have to kind of go on the offensive. They may not be used to it.
Can't be blamed if they're doing their ult tracking correctly. They've got to know that Bakugo is literally ready to unleash the strike, as is Bjornen. So Madero opens up with the Gazer Beam, and that's going to go right into the back line despite all those shields. But once again, Bakugo has found their inner Doomfist and goes ripping into that duel, crushes Dimes, picks up Car Fixer, and Seoul once again are completely untested on this point here.
Yeah, and I really like seeing how Bakugo played that. Gets the enemy Doomfist, then uses the Meteor Strike, knowing that he doesn't have to worry about getting counter one-shot. I think that this team is really kind of trying to learn from their mistakes, and it's showing. We're seeing the Moira ults kind of clean up a little bit from Bjornen. We're seeing other things like ult synergies kind of come a little bit more into effect, and right now it seems to be paying off.
And pay off it does. They drop the supercharger as if to start this fight off, and that looks like it's just going to keep Old Man Strength away from the point for the entirety of the duration. Fine by them. That's a truckload of progress. Beepus, however, goes down. Followed up by Carfix, and Hazard goes right into the backline, rips up the two healers. Flux is following in from Veg. Don't forget to eat your veggies. And despite Hazard going down, I think Old Man Strength are finally going to flip this point, but Seoul did exactly what they needed to, held on to some ults, and they are in one-fight territory.
They certainly are. The important thing is that looking forward, Old Man Strength, Fridge has Sound Barrier. Old Man Strength does not have the Gravitic Flux, so they're going to basically get a Sound Barrier for free if they're feeling comfortable enough to use it. They don't have to worry about saving it just to counter that Grav Flux. But the loss on Bakugo early might not help.
Interesting. That's going to be a very early kill, and they're going to use the supercharger presumably to shake off and go after the rest of the team. I don't like that usage. That's a good chance to gain a lot more ult charge or to just defend the point ad nauseum while it's up. But instead, they bust it out, and now Seoul's going to have 5 fantastic ults to throw into this fight. Barriers, I don't think is going to be enough to save Old Man Strength this time.
Certainly, and we can see Hazard kind of skulking up in the rafters, but it doesn't look like he's going to be immediately in the close range of Seoul to really get a whole lot of value.
Yeah, despite the barriers going out, Madero gets completely fragged. Fedge goes down immediately after. Seoul is looking very strong taking this point, and the kills are just so far in their favor. There's no way Old Man Strength wins this fight. They are on the full retreat or the full beat. And the point flips, and now it's go time. And with a supercharger on the way and a Blossom ready to go, it's going to be almost impossible for Old Man Strength to pick this one up.
Yeah, Hazard trying their best, just going to be dropping that Death Blossom, trying to get what they can, can't get much.
So customarily, Hazard picks up more kills with that Death Blossom. That grabs them nothing this time around. Overtime's going to start ticking down as Old Man Strength simply cannot find purchase on this point. They have people coming in. Mac finds Ballista. Beepus throws out that Blossom they were holding onto, but Mac finds Bjornen again. I don't like seeing Reinhardt win after smashing him so often. There it is. He does finally go down. But Old Man Strength have defied all the odds and are starting to keep a presence on the point here.
Yeah, Seoul going to be taking a quick retreat off of the point just to recollect themselves, make sure that it doesn't go too far out of whack. Madero getting taken down by Beppis. is one of the more resilient characters, or one of the more sticky characters to kind of get rid of. And they're gonna do it successfully.
How? So, Big for Prez goes down because Carfixer decided it was time for them to leave. Mines are on the point from Veg. Mac is so low, there's no way he's gonna be able to get up and get his shatter. He does go down thanks to the shield ignoring power of Ballistica. His fight has been going on for almost a minute now. Bjornen has the ult out, but they fall into a mine and die. So Old Man Strength now has the man advantage on the point, evened up slightly by Carfixer. If Old Man Strength actually... Wait, what? How did Bakugo die? What?
This is a little bit of a fiesta here, Threep. We're seeing what looked like such a good fight for Soul go in favor of Old Man Strength. The only benefit is that Old Man Strength was not building up progress for most of that, and now Soul have to kind of do it again with a lot less time on the bank. They have about 25 seconds.
How in the Sam Hill are we still watching this map? Anyways, looks like Max throws out the shatter, gets the Bjornen kill, and they go down, of course, but not before the damage is done. And Beepus throws out the Death Blossom. Hazard does not get necessary kills, and that's gonna be good times for Soul.
Yeah, the Doomfist kind of locked in a little side room here, but man, that aggression was just not needed for Old Man Strength right now. And Mac going for that pin, picks up Bjornen, but gets countered by the Doomfist right click. He gets stunned, put on the ground, and from there it just kind of collapses in on itself. The walls are closing in on Mac. They're gonna be licking their wounds from that, but they're still in a comfortable position.
So who took more mental damage from that fight? Was it in fact Old Man Strength, or was it maybe Soul? I don't think anyone expected that fight to go on as long as it did, and to lose to that Reinhardt coming in, even losing that one fight and getting pinned, man. That just eats. Though a solo shattered, you can kind of shrug that off. Meanwhile, it's back to standard composition for both sides as we get in to once again match point for Old Man Strength, but it looks like it's way too early to count Soul out.
Sure, Soul getting into the swing of things, literally not in the last moment of things, and Moira's already building up a ton. Carfixer could not have dropped any at a worse time.
I love this new and improved Bakugo coming out for Soul. He is picking up those early kills that we were initially only seeing come out from Dimes, or sometimes Madero with those orbs. And instead now, however, it's no one on the point. No one's even trying to rotate for it. The fight is such in full heat here. It's finally going to be Old Man Strength breaking, but I think they were just waiting for that final member to come back, and that's exactly what happens. Big for Press goes down, Beepus follows shortly after, and that's going to be full major cleanup for Old Man Strength, who, as Bakugo is the sole remainder on the team, they do find Veg, but the point will go to Old Man Strength to start.
Right, and from the beginning, Old Man Strength had the great positioning. They got into the room first, and they held that positioning. They were able to just drop down and go straight in without having to back out and do a weird, funky rotation. Even though they lost Carfixer, that was okay, because they didn't need to make quick rotations. They just needed to make decisive ones. But we're seeing Hazard in the back creeping.
Sounds like Dimes heard someone talking smack, and so that is going to be them coming back. Wow, very deep into the line here. They're going to try and get whatever kills they can, and yeah, Ballistica goes flying.
Oh, Fridge getting halted into an accretion rock, then cleaned up by the tickle beams of Madero. You hate to see it, but Fridge really going to be reeling after that. And another top turnbuckle jump in from Hazard.
Yeah, so this is really, really solid play now coming out. It's a full spawn press for Old Man Strength, and it's really good, a very efficacious one. They're getting exactly the kills they needed. Should they even get pushed back, they'll be able to make that full retreat to the point. There it is. Hazard goes down. That kill's definitely not going to come back to the fight faster than Soul's going to push it in, so Old Man Strength retreats.
Yeah, the important thing was that the Lucio did not drop for the side of Old Man Strength. They would not have been able to make this rotation fast enough if they did. Carfix are trying to make things happen with the boop. Not going to quite succeed on it, though.
Yeah, I see the combo that they tried to get in there, but Carfix are not able to boop anyone off, even with the assistance of the Gravitic Flux. Instead, it's Soul, and Carfixer was actually just sneaking out there for a little bit. It almost looked like they DC'd, but instead they were just stalling out, completely ignored. And so there's only a Doomfist left for the side of Old Man Strength, and instead of stalling, they'll beat the retreat with 81 to a now counting.
It's not too bad if you're looking at the side of Old Man Strength. It's just a couple of fights to win. They are going to be going at a little bit of an ult deficit. However, we're going to be seeing Beppis have the Death Blossom online, along with a slew of other ults, pretty much just the Lucio that's going to be taking a while to build up from Fridge. And Soul's going to be feeling pretty comfortable about that. Bakugo has plenty of time to build up that Meteor Strike. They're not suffering.
And gonna argue that it's been Beepus getting the most weight out of their Blossoms, but that's only gonna matter if the rest of their team is up, and that Supercharger gets taken down so quickly. No combos. What a strike! Ooh. The big combo came in! The halt with the Meteor Strike. Dimes gets all their 10 cents worth.
Absolutely. Dimes getting some massive value. Mac knowing exactly how to communicate with their DPS. That's what you need in that situation. Sure, they didn't have the ult advantage. They made it count, though.
Man, speaking of making sure to follow for mad Overwatch action, don't forget to vote for your MVP because the plays are coming off the hot presses. Pig for Prez! It's a Winston kill, one of the first we've seen, but there's a Death Blossom from Hazard. Sorely missed. Pig for Prez goes down, but Hazard follows shortly after. It'd be roughly Eason, and then Beepus evens it up once more. This is such a brawl on the point, and there's so much damage coming out from Beepus.
Right, the Moira's healing the Ori, but the Ori's healing the Reaper with all that damage being put forth. And right now it is looking tense as we just see what is just basically an episode of the Madhouse going on right now.
Did Beepus just get the gold medal for healing or something? What the heck was that? Unbelievable. Hazard stalls as long as they can. They'll take it to 99, and that might be just what they needed. Veg switches on to a Diva. Man, I hope they don't get too far out of the spawn with that one.
Yeah, Cardfixer being as resilient as we're used to seeing him on that Lucio. Not going to be enough, though, as we look forward. Veg on the Diva. It might change some things up here, but, you know, not the strongest against Doomfist.
Yeah, I will be shocked to see if this Diva gets... Oh, but so they get some value immediately. Bjorn in very close to their ult, and that damage orb would have done it. But it's one of the reasons you didn't used to be able to run Moira is because Diva was 100% picked, and those orbs were functionally wastes. Now, however, it's a Diva on the point, and woo, Old Man Strength take it in, but shields don't matter when you've got the Winston. The laser beam comes up, but Bjorn goes down! Hazard finds them! This is the Hazard that was showing up to play in the first 2 matches of the Meteor Strike with the combo again!
Wow, the threat was there. Veg immediately sniffed out that Bakugo was low, hunted them on that Diva, and now we're seeing Cardfixer try to get into the face of anybody who will listen. With that, they're going to stall out. Old Man Strength takes it 3-0.
That was tenacious. I super liked. I want to say it again. We've seen 3-0s on the board before, but it's important to remember that the overall score doesn't reflect the intensity of the match. Soul came alive, and man, if that's what's needed for Soul to come alive, maybe taking a couple losses into some fights and some warm-up matches, then maybe that's just what the doctor ordered before they start their next fight. Glad that this is not the last we'll see of them.
Yeah, absolutely going to be looking forward to seeing a lot of this team. I want to talk about how it seems academic this team has been in their learning process. It seems like they were able to at least adequately address some of the issues they were facing, and they corrected it. They pivoted in some of those aspects. I think we saw it a lot on Nepal, where it may have just been that it's a more comfortable map for them, but they definitely seemed to adapt. They had the ability to emotionally reset themselves, and you're absolutely right. I couldn't have said it better. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this team.
Oh boy. Okay. This is going to be fascinating to see. So we had Old Man Strength coming out, and yeah, like, it was just such an absolute clinic. And one other thing that I want to note is that it wasn't necessarily all the time that they were pulling off these crazy plays. We did not really see some perfect execution on the Meteor Strike halt combo until the very end there on that Nepal Sanctuary map. Yeah. So you get that blend of just solid gameplay and taking advantage of opportunities that present themselves. So when you get, I don't know really how to say this, a team like this, it's not that they necessarily adapted. They probably had those plays under their belt the whole time. It's just we didn't get a chance to see it because Soul didn't push them that far. But Soul did start to push them heavily on Nepal, even picking up a round, putting a point on the board. But ultimately, Old Man Strength was still able to take their game continuously to that next level.
Right, Old Man Strength, I mean, even when we did see the pressure, we saw things coming out that might be a little bit of a teaser as to what they truly kind of go into their final form with. We did see the Reinhardt, and that's something that you don't expect a whole lot of. So I think if they can put their opponents in a position where their opponents are, for some reason, choosing not to play Doomfist Reaper, that Reinhardt might be something that Old Man Strength's kind of pull out of their back pocket and shove into the guts of their enemies.
Yeah, could you imagine, speaking of stuff that you can pull out of your pocket, if Reinhardt ever comes back into the meta? Oh man, these two teams are going to be ready. Seoul was so ready to play Reinhardt, they even brought it out completely uninvited. And then, speaking of someone who just joined us in the voice channel, it looks like it's the tank du jour, the man, the myth, the legend, Mac, who got pins and kills on the Reinhardt. So thanks for joining us, Mac. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here too, Smile.
Now, Mac, I know you're coming off of the back of a win, so I'm just going to ask you this in plain English. What's going on in your mind as you're going into those last couple team fights?
They got us into quite the hard lock, honestly. I didn't expect it out of them. Like, they actually tried at the end, I felt like. At the beginning, they were kind of trolling with their comps, but we pulled it through. Kind of through at the end was my Rhine Shatter, but it happens.
Sometimes the Shatter just whiffs. It happens to the best of us, I think. Or the worst of us in my case.
I was going to say, yeah, I'm definitely not the best. Boy, do I whiff on my Shatter. So, Mac, when you get to bust out the Reinhardt like that, and that's a relatively unusual stall, I think, or rather, it's rare for me to see it. What goes through your mind, and is it pure elation?
Bro, I was like, I'm just gonna carry this. I held on to all my cooldowns. I didn't even contest. I just went for the kills. I trusted my team to touch there.
That is the aggression I like to see out of a Reinhardt player. Just my team will hold point, but
yep, they got this.
Putting the faith in the team, and I like it. Now, I want to talk about that team dynamic a little bit more. How well do you know and how well do you play with your other teammates? What capacity do you know them, I guess?
We honestly sleep together at this point. I feel like we've got good bonding. For the most part, we've been in a bit of a slump, but we're getting out of it. I hope after the next patch or within this tournament, we'll get better.
Nice. And yeah, so we got a little bit of the skinny from Madero about how the team was formed and whatnot. So It's super neat to see y'all. It sounds like a bunch of you have known each other for a bit, and I think the coordination is something you guys are really getting down pat. I know that based on the numbers on the board, this wasn't necessarily the most hotly contested match, but like you said, Seoul did come alive there at the end, and it looked like they were actually going to start pulling off some pretty good Overwatch, but it wasn't enough to push it through. How were you guys, what was going through y'all's minds going into that third map on Nepal?
Our first map, we were like, yeah, this is going to be a stomp. Well, Skya, like, they played some weird comps, so we lucked out a bit, I felt like. Well, we tried. And then on Nepal, it was actually kind of close. I felt like they played better than expected, so props to them.
Yeah, me and Threep were definitely talking about how on that second Nepal map, it was definitely pretty hairy. Yeah. It was back and forth. For that fight felt like it lasted 5 minutes in the very end there. But is your team one that kind of thrives in chaos, or are you guys a little bit more methodical? And do you think that kind of shows up in your individual gameplay styles?
Well, as you can see, both our DPS are just permanenting in the backline, so we're a very chaotic team. We strive off chaos and we play very good when our mechanics are on. Yeah.
Speaking of that chaos, though, by the way, it's the one thing that I wish we could have, but it's just so difficult to pull off, is the mic check, the cams, the seeing what's going on as y'all are popping off. When the big meteor strike came in and you pulled off one of the sickest halts to set up 3K from Dimes, did you guys go utterly ballistic, or was it professional until the end?
We didn't win the game yet, so it was like, just focus. Next fight, pretty much. I went for the flank pull. It's quite clean, so yeah.
So with those kinds of plays, I know a lot of teams are very vocal. Do you guys have an organized, like, okay, one person's making a call, or everybody's just kind of like screaming into their mics, oh, Doomfist low, oh, Reinhardt flank shatter, or something like that? Or is it Is give us a description of how you define your comm styles.
Our comp style, huh? I think that's too much of a league for the Chainsaw Direct. So,
Ooh, all right, I dig it. All that tells me is that coordination and communication is key, and that's something we love to hear. Speaking of which, so you all have a really interesting team setup. You're part of an esports organization. Do you get any interesting thoughts about what it's like to actually be a member of a officially recorded in the tax filings?
well, our org is very proud to represent like Chainsaw Direct, so I don't know.
Well,
just buy our lumber, fucking. Just buy our lumber, like chainsaws. That's it.
Oh, we love it.
Yeah, absolutely. It fascinates me so much to see this kind of thing come more so into the mainstream, where it's not just like sports moguls who are getting into esports. It's all sorts of businesses. I think you guys are kind of leading a little bit of a way. I don't know if this has happened a lot before, but it's certainly new to me, and I'm definitely a fan of what you guys are doing. I'm just gonna go back to my comms question for a second. I just assumed that you guys all had chainsaws on your mics the entire time.
Oh, chainsaws, huh? Well, we just got those K-Kona accents. That's about it.
Spicy.
As you can hear, Madero, he's well bred in the southern parts of America.
Love it. So we are going to be wrapping up soon. Waltham, I've got another hot take, but do you got anything else you want to grab from our boy?
No, Mac, I definitely appreciated having you in the caster's booth with us, giving us a few words and a few moments of your time.
No worries.
I got one question left for you, though. If you could revert the meta to a Reinhardt meta, would you?
Nope. I'm going back to dive all the way.
Oh!
Yes! Even better!
I miss it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good times, good times. The Zenyatta 100% pick rate. Anyways, my dude, as I will echo Sir Waltham here, thank you so much for joining us here in the booth. It's been an absolute pleasure having you, and we're looking forward to seeing what Old Man Strength and yourself can pull out.
Yep, thank you. I'll see you guys around. Peace.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.
And with that, Threep, we are ready to move on to the MVP. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, fantastic. And I have the envelope saying that our viewer MVP for our second match of the night is going to be Fridge. So much congratulations to Fridge. Sorry your team did not quite win, but you'll have another chance down there in the losers brackets. And you have the opportunity to claw your way back to the top. So much congratulations to the Lucio player, Forsoul, taking away our MVP award of our second MVP award of the night.
Yeah, and well-deserved, honestly. It's difficult to play support in kind of those tricky situations, but Fridge was doing some serious work on that Lucio, and so in our house, we love and respect our Lucios, and that is just sometimes a thankless job, especially if you happen to be in ladder, and of course, the Moira you're playing with is going to brag something DPS gold, something healing gold. So, we feel you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think with the MVP vote all locked down and ready to go, I think we are about ready to head out for ourselves. So for our casting team, for everybody here at the Overwatch All-Stars Brawl Volume 3, we'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to drop us those social media endorsements if you like what we're doing, the likes, the tweets, the follows, the subs, whatever you prefer. We love having you guys here. Want to give you a big thank you for tuning in and joining us tonight for your casting entertainment. I have been Sir Waltham. You can catch me on Twitch or Twitter at Sir Waltham, WALTHAM.
And this has been Threepwood007. Grab me on Twitch or Twitter at Threepwood007.
Fantastic. And for those of you who are still sticking around, thank you very much. We hope you guys have a great night and stay safe out there, everybody.